Hi everyone, Simon Chappell here. I'm the Quit Alcohol Coach. As always, I want to help you smash your sobriety. That's what I do. I love helping people get sober. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's new videos every Tuesday and every Thursday, and I don't want you to miss out. If you're looking to change your relationship with alcohol, this is absolutely the place to be. Today, I wanted to share some signs around the question that I used to ask myself all the time. Am I an alcoholic? I used to put it into Google, am I an alcoholic? I used to search, and of course, I would ignore the answers that told me, yes, Simon, you are an alcoholic. And I would look for things that would tell me, no, you're not as bad as them. And I would look for visual signs as well. I might see a tramp in the park drinking hard spirits out of a brown paper bag with a bottle in it. And that would say to me, well, I'm not as bad as him, so therefore I can't be. But the fact is I was. And alcoholics can live a risky existence. We're trying to balance two lives. We try and function. I was running my business every single day. I had 25 staff. I was in the office every morning early, probably stinking of booze, but I was functioning. Was I happy? No way. Was I fulfilled in my life? Absolutely not. So I think some honesty around knowing when the signs are there. And then once you can see some of the signs are there, you can do something about it. You can take some steps to get yourself into a really good place and start working on learning how to quit alcohol without too much willpower and to actually feel great and excited about the positive life choice that you're making for yourself. And if you do want some help quitting drinking, you can try my quit drinking program free for 14 days. There's a bunch of people who are having an amazing time there. They're quitting drinking, they're forming a wonderful community, so definitely check it out. The website address is on the screen and I would love you to become part of that because it really is helping a lot of people and I'm confident it would help you too. So I've got 16 signs today that you might be an alcoholic, and a lot of these absolutely applied to me. So let's dive into those right now. So the first sign that someone might be an alcoholic is that their entire social life revolves around alcohol. That was absolutely me. If I didn't think I was going to be able to get my hands on red wine at a social event, I would take my own. I would stash alcohol in my suitcase when I went away on holiday. Everything revolved around alcohol. So that's a sure sign that alcohol is running the show and being put in front of the most important things in your life. The second sign is when you start to use confirmation bias. Now, I mentioned at the start about how I would search for the words, am I an alcoholic? But I would ignore the stuff that told me, yeah, you are an alcoholic. Instead, I would look for the things that said, no, you're not. It's okay. You're just like everybody else. That is called confirmation bias, where we only digest the information that tells us what we want to hear. So we need to start being open-minded and actually listen to what the information is telling us, even if it hurts a little bit to look in that mirror and be completely honest with ourselves. How can we ever change unless we're absolutely honest about where we're at right now? Another sign that someone might be an alcoholic is when they stop keeping up with their responsibilities. That could be at work or at home or anywhere in their life. But if you're starting to drop responsibilities in favour of drinking or because you're too hungover, that is another sign that maybe there's a problem going on here. Another sign of alcoholism is when you joke about it or you actually say to people, yeah, I'm an alcoholic, in a kind of messing around way. I used to do that all the time. I was actually trying to look for some sort of confirmation that I wasn't, and I wanted people to say to me, no, I drink the same as you, Simon. So if you find yourself joking about being an alcoholic, that's another red flag. It's another warning sign. Another sign that alcohol might be featuring too heavily in your life is when you start to lose friends, damage relationships, or get into legal problems because of alcohol. Maybe it's because of regrettable behaviour, things that you said, things that you did that you wish had never happened. But if that's happening to you, it's another red flag and you need to pay attention to these. My personality used to change after I'd drunk. That was another sign. I became a different person. It was like Jekyll and Hyde. The drinking me was moody, snappy, and kind of horrible, if I'm honest. My son certainly said so in the video that I did with him. You can check that on my YouTube channel, where he shares what it was like having an alcoholic father compared to having a sober dad. I'm not going to tell you which one he prefers. I think you can work that out for yourself. But pay attention to this because it's really, really important. Another sign that you might be addicted to alcohol is if you need to drink to feel relaxed or confident or have fun. That was definitely me, and I firmly believe that alcohol helped me do that. So pay attention to yourself. You might want to get yourself a journal and start writing these things down and noticing what's happening, what your behaviour looks like. Or if you've got a partner, you could ask them to keep a log. Don't get upset with the truth though, but you need to gather this information. If you're on the fence about whether you might be an alcoholic and you want to know what to do about it, you need to gather some information. Discover the truth. Don't be upset, be happy that you've unravelled it and you've brought it out into the light, because once you have, you can do something about it. The next sign that someone might be an alcoholic is if you become irritable when you're unable to drink. Now, I drank almost every day for over 20 years, and I definitely would become irritable if I couldn't get my hands on my drink. Even if I was out with my family, doing something nice with my son, I would be preoccupied by thoughts of drinking, and I would become grumpy, irritable, and not a very nice person until I'd got my hands on that wine. And I used to hate travelling, especially if it was a long haul flight somewhere, and I would always be straight into the duty-free shop at the airport getting my hands on some wine to make sure I could drink as quickly as possible, and I would often stash it in my suitcase, as I mentioned earlier. So if you become irritable when you can't drink, that is a sign of the level of power that alcohol has in your life. Again, be honest with yourself. I used to drink alone all the time. I actually enjoyed drinking alone because nobody would bother me, nobody would judge me. I never drank during the day. Sometimes I did if we were out at a special event, but I rarely drank in the day. It was normally in the evenings. But if you're drinking alone, drinking in the mornings, drinking early in the day, that is a sign that alcohol is playing a big part in your life, and you may want to just pause for a moment, take a look and start to work on making some changes. I would always find a way to get my hands on alcohol. No matter what, no matter where, I would always find a way. I would often take it with me as a backup plan. If we were staying at a hotel, I would always have a couple of bottles in my bag. Because hotel wine is expensive, right? I didn't want to pay all that money. Plus, I wanted to drink some hotel wine and then I could start on my own. That would mean 3 bottles, maybe 4 on a really big night. So if you're always finding a way to get your hands on alcohol, it's another sign. How many of these red flags are coming up for you? Please don't be upset if there's quite a few. It's actually better to know that there's a problem, because then you can do something about it. You could join my quit drinking program. You could read my book. You can start exploring and learning and actually taking some positive forward steps into a wonderful new life that is waiting for you, a sober life. Sounds scary, right? But check out the rest of my videos on my channel and you can learn how to do this, and you'll realise that it's actually the best life you can ever live. If there's a family history of alcohol abuse, that can be a sign that there might be a problem with alcohol in your own life. I see it time and time again with people who I coach with, that maybe their father or their mother was an alcoholic. It doesn't mean that because they were, you are, and it doesn't mean because they weren't, you're not. Either or, it can go either way, but it can be a sign that if there's a history of alcohol abuse in your family and you're ticking a number of the boxes on some of the points I've already given around are you an alcoholic, that may be another warning sign to look out for. Now, I talked about trauma on one of my other videos. I shared a very personal story about myself. If you haven't watched it, I invite you to do so. You'll find it on my channel. If you have unhealed trauma from your past, and so many of the people that I work with have, that can be a sign that we've been pushed down a path to self-medicating with alcohol. Now, I say trauma, you might be thinking war veteran. Trauma comes in many different shapes and sizes. It can be everything from mental trauma, sexual trauma, as it was in my case. It could be bullying when you were at school, and it can be other things. Even if you have an absent parent who walked out on you at a young age, it can leave a child with PTSD and we don't even recognise it. So don't think because you haven't been in Iraq and injured in a war that you simply can't have trauma or PTSD. When you start looking at this and drawing out a timeline of your life and the pivotal moments, you might find that reason, the reason why you started to self-medicate. For me, it was like joining up the dots, and I would urge you to watch that video about myself and my story with trauma, because once I did, the blame went away, the shame went away, and when I talked about it publicly, it absolutely went away. But I realised that actually I wasn't born an alcoholic. Certain things that had happened in my life had led me down that path to self-medicating, and I was doing what I thought best with what I had around me at the time. It took away the blame of alcoholism and the shame that came with it, and I have no shame in sobriety. I'm totally proud of what I am, where I am, and who I've become. And putting the dots together over trauma really helped with that, because I just felt like, well, this wasn't me. This was because of something that happened that I had no control over in my life. And now I'm claiming back control, and I am back in control. I'm in the driving seat right now, and I even claim back the power over the trauma. So there's so many things that you can do around that. Anxiety and depression can be another sign too, and that often goes hand in hand with past trauma. So keep your eye out for these things. If you've got a journal, write this stuff down. Really get some clarity on it, because you can start to join up your own dots. And believe me, when you do, it can feel incredibly empowering. Another sign that alcohol might be a problem is when you get drunk when you didn't intend to. You say, I'm just going to have one drink. I'm just going to have two. I used to do that a lot. Before I knew it, I was on the second bottle of wine and I was feeling drunk. By the time I quit drinking, it took almost 2 bottles of wine to even feel drunk, because my tolerance was so high. But if you're finding that you're getting drunk when you don't intend to, that's another red flag and something you should look out for. Do you forget what you did when you were drinking? I used to have blackouts on a regular basis. I couldn't remember large chunks of the night before. Blackouts can be a sure sign that we're overloaded with alcohol and our brain does not like what's going on. We're probably drinking too much. We might be binge drinking, or we might be daily drinking like I was. Either way, if you're experiencing blackouts or finding that you can't remember things from the night before, that's a sign that you're drinking too much, and you want to be paying attention to that. Another sign that alcohol is featuring way too heavily in your life is if you're hiding alcohol around the house. I've known people hide it in cereal boxes, cupboards, in the garden, all over the place. It's a common thing that happens. Or if you're denying drinking to your partner or your family when you have been drinking. Or if you get angry when you're confronted about your drinking. All of those are signs. When it starts to touch a nerve, or you feel embarrassed about your own behaviour, you need to be honest. You need to look yourself right in the face in the mirror and be totally, absolutely transparent with yourself around your habits and your behaviour. If you're doing those sort of things, there's every chance that there's a problem with alcohol, and it's time to start looking at how to change. And the last sign that you might have a problem with alcohol is if your loved ones and your friends are worrying about you, that they're asking you questions about your drinking, that they're saying maybe you should cut back a bit, or you had a lot to drink last night. That is a sign other people are expressing a concern. Don't ignore that. Pay attention to it. They're telling you because they care and they can see there's a problem. So if your loved ones are saying things like that, just pause for a moment before you get angry. They're saying that from a place of absolute love because they care about you. So there you have it. 16 signs that you or whoever you're watching this on behalf of might be an alcoholic. And if you've ticked a lot of those boxes, I don't want you feeling angry with yourself or feeling upset or thinking, well, there's no hope. I'm an alcoholic. What am I going to do about it? There's everything you can do about it. Now's your time to change. Take some steps forward. Like I've mentioned, you can join my program. You can join it totally free for 14 days to make sure it feels right for you. You can look at my book. There's a bunch of other books. There's reviews of books on my websites. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel so you start to get tips and tactics to learn how to quit drinking. See this as an exciting journey of self-discovery, that you're now going to go on a path to making a change, to become a better version of you. So don't feel down about it, because so many people go through their entire lives not realising or not wanting to face up to the fact that they actually are an alcoholic. You've possibly just done that if you're watching this video, and I give you massive respect for that. So now you know that. That is the first step to sobriety out of the way. Now get on to the second step, which is educating, learning, expanding your knowledge about how to successfully quit drinking. And believe me, you'll be so happy. You'll be thanking me that you saw this video in 6 months' time when you're alcohol free, smiling, living your best life and wondering why you ever drank in the first place. I will see you all again soon on the next video, and thank you for checking this one out.